I'm 7 seconds from home free, but I know, like I've always known, that what got me here won't get me there.
Hi, my name is FAYLITA HICKS, and this is the Writer's Tarot. All right, so this is the Writer's Tarot, and I'm going to be reading for November 2nd through November 8th. And this is going to cover the next 7 days, though sometimes we find that it can go past 7 days, and I'll talk about that a little later. But this is going to be for nonfiction writers. So that's anyone who is writing nonfiction. It does not matter the subgenre. So memoir, historical fiction, nonfiction. It's anything having to do with nonfiction. That might look like folks who are writing outlines for documentaries. It might look like people who are writing songs for themselves. It's anywhere in the nonfiction realm is what we're looking at here. I am going to do a special reading for folks who are creators overall, but for now, nonfiction. The first card we're going to pull is going to be a card from our ancestors. I always like to bring them in first, just to kind of give us a grounding of, you know, what they want us to know for this week. So ancestors, I'm asking specifically for nonfiction writers in the next 7 days. All right. And so the card they have given us is the Ace of Sticks. And it did come out reversed. In the traditional deck, this is the Ace of Wands. And in this image, you can see a hand that is sticking out and grasping a wand. And that hand is actually got both black and white. Looks like vitiligo. One of the reasons why I like to point that out for this particular card in this particular deck, which is the Hoodoo deck. If you're interested in any of the decks that I'm using today, they will be found links below in the comment section that will have the description for this for these decks. But this is from the Hoodoo deck. And I like to include that because very often that means, for me, when I read it, it means an integration. It's an integration of ideas, an integration of strengths, of experiences, and using that to be a tool for creativity. The Ace of Wands is always a positive thing. When it's in reversed, what it can indicate is that there is an inability to grasp that creativity, or a not inability, but sometimes it's, I don't want to grab that. I don't think I have everything I need, when the message is clearly, oh, you absolutely do have everything you need to step into your creativity, but like you're not doing it. You have everything you need, but you're not integrating your experiences, or you're not integrating the lessons you've learned, or you're not integrating, you know, your worlds to create something wholly new. And so that's what it means when it's in the reverse. But the great things about reverse cards is that these cards are either or. And so you can easily turn this energy around to grasp the thing. But when it's coming from the ancestors in the reverse, what it means to me is that there is, they're saying, but you're not wanting to do that. You're not wanting to do that at all. And they need you to do that. So let's go into our main reading. Every video I've done so far has been an hour long, and that is not my desire to give you an hour long every time. This is the very first video, so I'm going to let it slide, but I understand people have time and things they need to do, and so I want to be respectful of their time. But there's a lot of messages that have been coming out, and so let's see what it says for nonfiction writers in our main pull. Nonfiction, please. And this is going to be just a 4-card pull for this. If I need to pull clarifying cards, I will. I've only had to do that once so far, but let's just see what we're looking at. Okay. Oh, okay. 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 Ooh, all right. All right. You got a lot going on, nonfiction writers. The exciting news is that something that you have been working on, some idea that you've had, you are about to run into that catalytic moment for it, right? So if it's an idea that you had, but you weren't quite sure about how to move forward on that idea, this week is going to present an opportunity that's going to kind of go, I do know what I want to do now. I'm clear on it. I have a vision for it. Oh man, this is exciting, right? Because now you can move forward into the creative part. The other side of it and the way that it feels, and this might be the card I have to let me just go ahead and clarify it. Because I want to see, is this an idea or is this an event? And then I'll tell you what the card is and what's on the card. But first, let me just clarify that real quick. I just want to get that out there before I say what I want to say in my heart. And they're probably going to look at me sideways because they're like, you already know what the answer is. I was like, I know, but let me just double check real quick before. Yup. Okay. Bet. So you applied for a thing or you submitted a thing and all signs look like a yes. A yes. So either you're going to get your publication or you're going to win an award or you're going to get a grant, or you're going to get an invitation, or you're going to get paid for some sort of good news is coming your way, because the card that you received is the Sun card, and it came out in the affirmative. On this card, what we see is a young person is sitting on top of a horse. That horse is a white horse. It's got gray hair, and the child is holding a flag, and the flag is a red flag, and it's waving in the wind. Directly behind the child is a ton of sunflowers and I'm guessing red posies. And it's got a brick wall that's blocking the child from all of the flowers. And we'll talk about that. And then there's this huge sun, and the sun is just really looking out and doing one of those, like, you knew this moment was coming. Congratulations is the face that it's giving you. It's like, of course you got the thing, right? One of the things to know about the sun, especially when it's set up like this, which is in the traditional way of the original design for tarot, or one of the original designs of tarot, it symbolizes not only victory, but not having that victory just quite yet. It's like getting the email that you got the thing, but not having it published just yet, but knowing that it's coming and being able to prepare for it, right? Or it's having the idea and now knowing what to do next, but not having the time to get it started, right? Both of those things are kind of like what the sun represents. But the good news is that it definitely is going to happen with or without without you doing anything else. And that's also kind of backed up here by the clarification cards that I received, which is 9 of Wands, which came out in the reverse. The 9 of Wands has a person who is standing there in shorts and a jacket. They've got bandages around their hands. And they are surrounded by all these wands, these very tall wands, and they've got one in their hands. And they only need one more to finish the project. They only need one more step to get done with the thing, to actually access the thing. And it's saying that, like, you're just about done. The finish line is right there. Even though you may not be able to see it just yet, the finish line is there. And it's right around the corner, because you have planted all of the seeds that you needed to plant in order for it to be fruitful, in order for you to be successful. The next card that came out was the 7 of Pentacles. And the 7 of Pentacles, it shows a person in a green dress, and they got their arms kind of crossed, and they're looking at these plants, and they're like, why aren't you bigger yet? But the fact is, they've done so well at taking care of their plants that the plants are kind of, they're growing. They may not be growing quite as fast as they want, but they are growing. And they're covered in, the plants themselves are covered in pentacles. And so it's kind of like you put the seed in, and now the seeds are doing their thing. And just because it isn't as fast as you want it to be doesn't mean it's not happening. It absolutely is happening. Congratulations. You did exactly what you were supposed to. So keep watering it, right? 6 of Wands was the third clarification card that came up for the sun. And the 6 of Wands is about a literal victory. This person is sitting on top of a horse. This horse has golden hair, and the person sitting on top of the horse is carrying their own wand that has a wreath on the end of it. And behind them are a bunch of other people carrying wands and walking besides the horse, just kind of celebrating with that person for their victory. And so there is something about not only you having been successful, but it being seen both behind the scenes and in the public eye. meaning that whoever accepted your, piece for publication or whoever awarded you the thing, they can see the greatness of you, as well as the people in front, your family and friends, and the other people who you would consider your peers. Everybody can kind of tell that you did exactly what you're supposed to do, even though you may not feel like you've done enough, right? So that's the very first card of the main thing is our sun. The next card that came out was the Three of Wands, and this shows a person in a red dress, and they are facing this waterway, and we can see the boats, and the boats are rolling up to the shore and bringing in all the good stuff, and this person is just watching the ships come in. Nice. And this feels like for specifically for writers, right? I'm thinking of something like, yes, you got the publication and the dream publication, and it feels like the entire world is freaking amazing. And you're like, oh my God, this is it. The dream has come true. Not realizing that there's even more to the dream, that your dream was actually probably too small, that there's actually more to the story. Because the Three of Wands, there's a whole bunch more wands to come. There are bigger things to go after. And not knowing that is, a big thing, but like also recognizing like I'm at the beginning of something really beautiful and I'm on my way. Officially, I'm on the path towards my big thing. And it feels like it's a big thing because within these first four cards, the Sun, the Three of Wands, you also have the Judgment and the Empress. And I'm going to tell you about those in a second. But I just wanted to note you got three major arcana. And major arcana cards in tarot is very much about big life events and big changes that are happening internally and externally. And in this case, it feels like it's a very big change happening internally. And we need to address that. And that's because the very next card that came out beneath the Sun is our Judgment card. And the Judgment card has a person with long blue hair. They have huge red wings, and they are carrying some sort of shawl that has the cross on it. That cross is, it might be a Celtic cross, which is more of a balanced cross as opposed to like, a Christian cross. I'm not using all of my words. I'm a writer. I should probably work on that. And below the angel in the clouds, right, the one with the red wings, below that are people coming up out of all of these caskets, and all of these people coming out of these caskets are naked, and they are muted. Their colors, like there's no dominant color. They're all muted, and so they all look like they're literally coming up from the dead, right? And this card came out in the reversed, and so it would look like this. It would look like the past is coming to haunt the future, right? And so what feels like it's happening in the story of these cards is it feels like there is this accomplishment that is one that you've been working towards, that you've been so excited about, and it's the beginning of something really beautiful, and you can see that, but the old insecurities are coming in and are trying to eat at you. Right? You're looking at it and you're going, oh, I did great. I'm so excited. But I don't know if I can be that excited because it wasn't like this big thing. It was just like this thing that I did. And I'm very excited about this thing that I did. But, I have this great idea, but no one's going to see the idea for 5 years because I got to write the thing. Right? That's kind of how it feels. And so there's this real need for you to sit down and ask yourself, what insecurities am I letting take hold? And what insecurities am I letting block me from the joy of the moment and from being able to move forward? The Judgment card is the second to last card in the tarot in the major arcana session. And it's the second to last card because before you can reach your destination, you have to be willing to integrate all of the lessons you've learned and to integrate all of that information so that you can learn from the past and from your past mistakes, or learn from your past wins, learn from the past so that you can move forward, so that you can celebrate with a full heart. We see these people rising up from the dead because they've been willing to look at themselves and accept all of their flaws and, review their lives and go, yeah, no, I get it. Things weren't always perfect, but now I'm ready to move on to the next phase, right? And that next phase is quite beautiful if you let it be. The next card is the Empress, right? And the Empress is set up here. The Empress is sitting on this beautiful cushion chair, lounge, chase thing. And they've got the Venus sign on a heart sitting next to them by their feet. It looks like a pillow, and that pillow has the Venus sign on it. It does look like we've got the Empress is sitting next to a beautiful little river that's going through a little forest. And the Empress has a big old afro. They're wearing a white dress, and they've got a gold chain and some really long dangling earrings and a little crown of light on their head. And the colors in this image are very orange and yellow and blue and green, very much like just a garden, and a passionate one at that. A lot of passion is associated with this card. The Empress is close to the beginning. It's a 3 card. And I haven't done this for the other readings, but I think it's because it wasn't as important for the other readings. I do think it's important here because I'm going to talk about the numbers and how they're connecting on these cards for you in particular. But this card, the Empress, is about being willing to enjoy the bounty of now, of the moment. Enjoy the bounty of the time that you have to dedicate to a creative practice, whether that amount of time you have is only 5 minutes or it's an entire day, or if you work for yourself, like whatever, being able to enjoy any amount of whatever you have and to sit in the beauty of that, right? Because there is a privilege to being able to explore your creativity in this era, right? Previous generations did not have that ability to just kind of, there are generations who did, yes, but especially if you come from, formerly enslaved folks, if you come from folks who had to work nonstop or had no ownership of their time, no ownership of their space, having any amount of time to just dedicate to creativity and have that be a possible avenue towards sustainability and thriving. That is a privilege that we have in this era, in this generation. And there's this call for you to enjoy the fact that what you're creating is not only feeding the people who are interacting with your work, but also feeding you. And it's feeding of you, it's healing you, right? And it's healing some old wounds. It's healing some old wounds that we're seeing here in the judgment cards. And it's integrating, like saying, yes, there was pain. Yes, there were lessons. Yes, there were failures, but there's also joy and there's also success. And both of these things are true, right? And so when it comes out in the reverse, it definitely is saying that they need you to go ahead and integrate that. Understand the bounty of the moment. Understand the bounty of being exactly where you are, doing exactly what you're doing and all that you're learning. Even if you work another job that has nothing to do with writing, if you are working something, like if you have a whole other life that gets in the way of your creativity, even that is a bounty because it is full of lessons. It is full of hard content for you to pull in and use as a tool for your creativity, right? It is a resource for you. Especially as nonfiction writers, our lives are our primary source. And so we're pulling all of that in, and we're pulling all of our actual experiences in, and we're trying to find the truth of what it means to be a human, what it means to be alive in this time. And so there's a bounty. You have a bounty. And if you can't see that, they need you to see that. I wanted to talk about the position. I chose 4 cards for the original reading because it's just, I didn't want to make all of my readings too long, even though they have been way too long. So I'm trying to get through that. But what happens is there's this balance, right, when you do 4 cards. And with the sun directly opposing the judgment here, so that it looks like this, right? And what I want you to kind of note is this theme of day and night, of so above, so below, of what others can see and what's internal, right? And outside, inside is what we're kind of looking at when they're set up like this on the table. And that is something that seems to be like a very big theme for you, is understanding that there are 2 aspects that you cannot depend on outside affirmation that you are doing the thing. You've got to internalize that you are doing the thing, and you've got to be proud of that, right? because the only card that's after Judgment, the only card that comes, like the sun would be right up against theoretically the world. And to kind of lay that out, it just needs you to go ahead and accept that you're doing well. Same thing happens again with the Three of Wands and the Empress. For folks who don't know, the Empress is the third card in the major arcana, and this is the number 3. And we've got Wands, which is very much about fire, passion, initiation, the beginnings, the creative spark, and the Empress, which is very much about like embodying passion, embodying the creative spark. So this is like this is the light, this is the match, and this is the flame. And so these two being right up against each other, especially with the repetition of 3, it definitely feels like there is a beginning, and it's perfect for you. It's perfect for you. And you know it's perfect for you. You know that you are at a good time, which makes me think that the time is now. So if you've been waiting to do a thing, the time is now, because likely you'll have a good outcome. So let's go ahead and get to our next card. We're going to pull from the David Bowie deck. I keep calling it the David Bowie deck. It's actually I think it's called Star. It's called Starman Tarot. I've got some of my boxes behind me. It's called Starman Tarot, but I call it the David Bowie deck because the person who designed David Bowie's Lightning is actually this guy, and created a really incredible deck. We're only going to pull one card for nonfiction, please. One card for nonfiction. And it's because these cards are extremely detailed and extremely heavy with symbolism and messaging. And so I try to be very light-handed with this particular deck. But one card, please, for nonfiction. And you see a lot of people shuffling, and I like to shuffle. But with these cards, they're a little too... Wow, that's amazing. Okay. I'm all right. You got the 6 of Wands again, right? So we just got it here as a clarification card for your sun, but now you've got it also here. I pulled this card as an artistry card as far as creativity goes. And in this 6 of Wands, in this version of the 6 of Wands, we got a person walking through, they're walking off of the steps into the water, right? And they are throwing all of these wands across the water, but it's like they're stepping into battle is what it looks like. Because in the water are all these things trying to throw energy back at the person who we see as the main character in this card. And everyone else seems very abstract, but the primate person seems very solid. And we see almost what looks like people trying to take them down, and it just looks like every Marvel movie. I know I'm going to get in trouble for this. What series is it that has like the World Wars and America Man? What's his name? Captain Marvel. America Man. Ooh. I do like those movies. I just never took the time to just like learn everything. So I don't know everything. It looks like battle is happening. So you can kind of see this here in the card. Yes, I will provide links for this deck in the description, but it looks like stepping into battle. It looks like, the person walking through that crowd and being like, I am the beast and I've come to accomplish a win here. I came to put it down and I'm going to put it down, and I did put it down, and what the feeling behind it is. And so the thing is, there's this need to it's not even taking a risk. The energy is more like having the confidence to know that you have complete control of the situation. And so if that's like is my idea good enough? Instead of asking that question, maybe asking the question of how far can I take this idea? How big can I make this idea? How many different ways can I express this idea? Because the idea is good. I know it's good. No one else has to tell me it's good. I know it's good, right? And it might be the same thing when it comes to a manuscript. Nah, this is a pretty dope manuscript. And if so-and-so can't feel it and so-and-so can't feel it, I'm not going to settle by just giving up or stopping or just giving it to one of them even though they weren't feeling it. No, I'm going to hold this manuscript till it gets to the right people because I know this is good. I know this is going to do the right work, right? And so It's very bold and it's very exciting because it means, again, it kind of confirms what we're seeing with the Sun and the Three of Wands and the Empress here for sure, and the Ace of Wands. It definitely feels like there's a win on the horizon if it hasn't already arrived. Now we're going to get into our Crow deck. This is about messages. And so I've always liked crows because they provide all kinds of messages and in real life. And, you know, we know a murder of crows and all that other fun stuff. And so I just really like them. And so I use them for messages. And I'm asking for any messages over the next 7 days for nonfiction writers. Any messages for nonfiction writers over the next 7 days? Give me 3 cards, please, for messages for nonfiction writers over the next 7 days. All right. All right. I'm familiar. I'm familiar with this concern. I'm familiar with this issue. Right? This card shows the Four of Pentacles. It's a raven. The raven is sitting on top of a pentacle, holding 2 pentacles to its chest while balancing a fourth pentacle on its head. And it's doing this on the bank next to what looks like a lake and a city in the background. The lake is very calm, and the city looks very calm in the background. There's snow on the ground, and so the land that the crow is sitting on looks very solid. And they've got this 4 pinnacles. Everything else is solid except for the crow, because the crow is standing on top of the pinnacle instead of standing on the ground. And the pentacle is circular, and so it's like, bro, how you gonna hang out on this coin? Like, you trying to balance standing on the coin and balance it on your head and balance it in your hands. And you might be able to accomplish some sort of stability, but it's not long-term stability. And it came out in the reverse. And when it comes out in the reverse, it feels like you are in that place where you've been swinging back between sustainability and thriving and just not enough to do anything. You've been like, oh, I'm doing really good. No, I'm not. Crap. Right? Like, it feels like we're going back and forth between both of those. And there's this fear. There's this fear that you're never going to get to step off of this circular coin that you're standing on, that you're always going to be on that coin. And for that reason, you keep holding on to all of the big ideas, or you keep holding on to all of the big opportunities and not going after them because the timing doesn't feel right. And you feel like it would just get in the way of stability. This might look like, let's say you've been accepted to a residency, and that residency needs you to come out for a month and a half. And you're like, but my job. And it's kind of like you are literally weighing, how much is it going to cost me in time and space and money for me to go to this residency, even though I know this residency might be exactly the time and the space that I need to create even more wealth. But I have to make a decision between the two, right? And we see that being a part of the issue here is you feeling like you're not getting enough. This is the Knight of Pentacles. On the Knight of Pentacles, it has a black horse. Standing on top of the black horse's back is a crow who has a pentacle in its mouth. This horse is standing still, and they're standing still in what looks like a field of red flowers. I can't tell what kind of flowers these are. And there are 3 trees in the background. And so there's this feeling of being stuck, of like, I just need to receive X amount of dollars. I just need to bring in X amount of dollars. And until I get that X amount of dollars, until I get that X amount of resource, whatever that resource is, a mentor, a publication, followers on my account, like, until I get whatever this resource is, I cannot move forward because I need that to move forward. And the message when it comes in reverse is kind of like, but you don't. You're letting the wrong thing get in the way. You're letting a lack of resources stop you from moving forward, and they really need you to move forward because they've got something else in store for you, but you can't even approach it. And it's because of the Nine of Cups here. You've got some joy that is going to be worth more to you than any of the resources. I know that's a hard pill to swallow, right? Hearing that the joy that you will receive will not be monetary. when you know you need bills to cover the rent. That being said, this is the point in the reading in which I start talking about energy and how we can manifest more good things in our life when we allow ourselves to feel good physically, right? When we allow ourselves to feel physically well, emotionally well, spiritually well, when we are connected to our craft, when we are connected to our family and friends, that becomes more valuable than any dollar or coin or other shape of resource, right? Because it's funny how things in nature tends to balance itself out. And so if you are constantly feeling negative and upset and disappointed and like you don't have enough, then you will never have enough, because every little bit will never be enough. But if you are able to look at having nothing and go, man, I got this, I got that, I got this, I got these people right here, I have 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, like, you know, all of that becomes the resource, becomes the joy, and the universe goes, bet you like that, I'm gonna give you some more of that. Oh, you like that too? I'm gonna give you some more of that. And so you're always in a constant state of gratitude because you're always grateful for what you already have and you're not focused on what you don't have. There was another comment I wanted to throw in there. Oh, it's like when you hear, you know, elderly folk talking about, and this is a part of like a poll they did or some survey they did, in which they were talking about, like, most people were like, it wasn't the money that I miss most in life. It's actually the people I miss most in life. And that is a major resource, like being able to know that you have experienced love, whether that's, you know, romantic love or platonic love or familial love, like, you know, whatever that love is, that's going to be way more valuable than everything else. And just by taking part in those kinds of relationships and really giving some weight to those relationships in your life, it actually might help to balance out, like, you know, housing situations. It might balance out food situations, because you got people who love you, who going to take care of you either way, right? Like that's how those things can balance out. So ask yourself if you can let the work and the creative opportunities that are presenting them to you, that are being presented to you, if you can let those things bring you joy and be the resource, even if they are not financial in nature, even if they are not literal resources, if you can find the joy and opportunities that you are receiving so that you can transmute that and transform that into literal resources. So the next card this one. The next card we're going to do here is our, actually, wrong. We only got 3 more decks left. Good news. We're only a half hour in. I've been going an hour long for everybody, but I just want to make sure I get you as much information as I can for this very first one. Make sure you stick to the end. At the end, I'm going to provide some publication opportunities. I'm going to try to do this every single week, in which I provide you with at least 3 opportunities that are available for nonfiction writers right now for publication. I am going to do a whole separate video in which I talk about contests and awards and fellowships and scholarships and all the ships. And we're going to look at what's available and what's happening right now, so that you're always up to date. I get people asking me all the time, but where can I get published? And I'm like, that list is long. So this is how I'm going to try to address that. So stick around to the end for that. I am asking the Literary Witches Tarot deck. Again, I'll provide a link below. I am asking it for nonfiction writers. Give me 3 quick cards, please, for nonfiction writers. And let's go ahead and do this. I haven't done this with every deck, but this one seems to like that. Okay. I'm already liking it. Oh, man, I'm already liking it. I'm hearing stuff already. Okay, good. I've got another one of these. Okay. Oh, you got 4 cards. I'm not upset about the 4 cards. It's just, this is a new deck for me. I picked it up when I was in Portland at Tin House this past summer. And so I'm not familiar with the whole deck yet. And I don't know all the things that are in it. But so far wow. Okay. So another reading already had 3 of these cards. So that's very interesting that you're getting all of them now, nonfiction. All right, let's start with the very first one that came out, which was Octavia E. Butler. And this image, Octavia is sitting in the middle of the image, and we see one arm coming out of a hole. Out of the hand of Octavia is a person that looks like a plant. I don't know. And in front of Octavia is another person who is stabbed in the arm or in the body with something. Bro, this is the image. I think I'm not doing very well at describing this. I'm doing my best, but it's doing a lot. Okay, we're gonna read Octavia Butler, see what it says. Again, I haven't read all of these, so I don't know what's all in here. It says the future. It says imagining, planning, worrying about the future. Octavia E. Butler, 1947 to 2006. The daughter of a housekeeper and a shoe shiner, was a pioneer in the very white and male-dominated genre of science fiction. She received a MacArthur Fellowship for her dark, philosophical novels and stories which feature Black female protagonists and explore power dynamics among sexes, races, and species. The words that I want to take with us is the imagining, planning, worrying about the future. Right. So I just went in talking about how sometimes we can block our prosperity and block our opportunities because we're focused on the concrete and the need for material resources when really we need to be leaning way more into our creative resources. Right. And so those creative resources, and, of course, we know that for Octavia Butler in particular, there was a lot of that work that wasn't celebrated until after Octavia's lifetime. And so there's this really important need for us to try to experience joy in this lifetime and celebrate every win in this lifetime, right? Because sometimes we get our flowers while we're alive and sometimes we do not. Either way, we need to be celebrating ourselves and every accomplishment. We got the glove here, and I'm trying to make sure I'm not reading it the way I read it before and that it's still relevant for this conversation. It does feel like it is. Propriety, needing to make other people feel comfortable, needing to fit into the narratives and fit into the community in the way that other people want us to be. The glove, especially in literature, is kind of like this sign of nobility and conformity and cleanliness, and this kind of glove specifically is like very feminine, very like reserved, even though feminine doesn't necessarily mean reserved. That's a whole nother conversation. The divine feminine is not always small, right? There's this need to be refraining from being one's true self, refraining from showing oneself in full. Right. And the judgment card, we had all of these people who were butt naked, literally butt ass naked in this card, being like, I see myself and I'm willing to face myself and I'm not going to hide from myself or from anyone else ever again. Right. That's happening in the judgment card right at the beginning of the reading. And now we got this glove, which is kind of like representative of all the times in which we do hide ourselves because we are afraid of the instability that comes with revealing our true selves. Right. And so if you are truly a writer and a creative, and that is your primary passion, but no one else around you is like into that, and no one else around you can understand why you want to pursue whatever it is you want to pursue, this is saying you need to go ahead and do what you got to do for you because your life is the only one you got to live. It's just you. You're the only one who got to live your life. No one else is living your life, just you. Right? And so what do you want to do with your time? We got the skull. Right. And even in literature, this is an image that comes up, and I talked about it again in another reading, but I'm going to bring it up again here because it still is relevant. Death and rebirth. It's all about understanding that a death of one's former self does not mean the end of life. It means like the opportunity to be reborn into something new. Right. Again, we got that in the judgment card, in which is said, like there was this ending, or there is this ending that is happening. One phase of life is closing and ending. And now you need to step into this new version of you And if you hesitate, you're going to, if you hesitate for too long, you're going to fall off the wrong side. They want you to stop hesitating, right? There are a lot of reversals in this reading. And it has so much to do with the fact that we keep trying to stay in this old version of ourselves when we are obviously being called into a new version of ourselves. And that new version of ourselves prioritizes our creative selves. Obviously, you want to be mindful, right? You want to respect the people who you have to work with, live with, love, raise kids with, so the whole nine, right? There's a lot of other people who will be impacted by your decisions. All that being said, how much are you willing to sacrifice of yourself in order to keep doing that? Or will you be able to find greater joy and greater fulfillment in pursuing your creative self in the way that you know you need to? We also have Gertrude Stein here, and it says perspective. And so let me just pull that up for you. We're almost to the end. I keep doing this last name. I love it when things are alphabetical. All right. It says Gertrude Stein, perspective. Making sense, frames, new ways of seeing. Gertrude Stein, 1874 to 1946, hosted a popular Paris salon, home to a staggering collection of modern art and famous visitors, Picasso, Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and so on. Influenced by the radical painters she supported, Stein set out to create cubism in writing. She stripped her poems of narrative and logic, playing instead with spatial relationships and process. She shared her life with her romantic partner and secretary, Alice B. Toklas. And so the words we're going to take from this is definitely going to be making sense, frames, and new ways of seeing. It's about that moment that you decide to no longer operate in the way that everyone else has told you you're supposed to operate, but operating in a whole new way and letting that be what lifts you up, right? I always love to hear stories about writers and artists hanging out and doing things. I already brought Patti Smith up in another reading, but it's kind of cool that a literal rock star won a poetry award. That's kind of cool. Or Kendrick Lamar literally won the Pulitzer Prize. I'm fairly sure that when Kendrick Lamar was Kendrick Lamaring and creating that album, the Pulitzer Prize was not even anywhere on the radar. It was like, I'm gonna do this Grammy thing real quick. Maybe that was on the radar because I don't know Kendrick and I don't know Kendrick's desire for awards or anything like that. I'm just saying probably a Grammy was on the mind, but not necessarily Pulitzer, right? And part of that has to do with Kendrick saying, you know what, I'm gonna do something slightly different and I'm not gonna do it the way that everybody else in hip hop has done it or in rap has done it. I am going to surround myself with other kinds of creatives and I'm gonna learn from people who are not just running within my circle. I'm gonna learn from everybody, and that lifting him up into even more circles, right? Because I would love to have been at that particular after party for the Pulitzer Prize to see, physicists and historians and all of these people from all these different backgrounds who've won Pulitzer Prizes standing next to Kendrick Lamar, a boy from Compton. I would love to see that. Letting that craft lift you up into the spaces that you want to be in or that you don't even know you have the potential to be in, right? So that's what that is. We're going to take a look at our cards from the Letting Go, and then we're going to look at abundance. Like I said, stick till the end so that way I can give you all of your publication opportunities. We're going to close with the Goddess Rising deck when I get there, but this is, what is it we need to release in order for us to receive abundance? What is it we need to release in order for us to receive abundance? What is it we need to release in order to receive abundance? And these cards, it's hard to pick a side. They're just going to do what they're going to do. All right. It says, achieving clarity in my relationship. Today, I will remember that even the best relationships have low points. If the low point is the norm in my current relationship, I may have to consider if I want it to continue. If the low point is temporary, I will practice understanding. I know that I will achieve clarity and make the right decision. So I am not seeing love in this reading, and so I'm not going to read it as a love relationship. It doesn't even feel like it's a relationship with others in terms of like family or friends or kids or neighbors or any, and I wouldn't even say work. I will say that this feels like a relationship with oneself, right? I will understand that even when I feel insecure, even that's important for me to recognize that this is a low point for me. I don't feel good about myself or about my work or about where I am. But I also understand, it says here, I also understand, blah, blah, blah. I may have to consider if I want to continue. If the low point is temporary, I will practice understanding, right? And when it says if I want to continue, do I want to continue along this particular creative path? There are lots of spoken word poets who I know who are now musicians. Big examples, Jamila Woods, Tank and the Bangas. Oh man, what was his name? He was kind of like a pop rock dude back in the early 2000s who crossed over. There are tons of folks who are starting off in one creative field and they're making their way slowly over to another creative field. And so when they ask if you want to continue down this path, it's saying, do you want to continue with the current project that you have? Are you writing a memoir about the city, or are you writing a memoir about your relationship with your sister? Are you creating something that's going to be only read in a book, or are you actually thinking that this might be a screenplay? Like, these are questions that you can ask yourself if you're feeling at a low point with your creativity or with your projects that you're working on. But understanding that any low point that you're having, especially if you know it's temporary, if you're like, I'm not always like this, I don't know why I'm so upset today, that's a temporary low point, and understanding that it gets better. It gets better. Do I want to continue working and having this relationship with this piece of myself? Or do I want to go ahead and release that, right? Do I want to go ahead and release that, or do I want to find another way to handle this, right? And so I think that's still on point here for this. Now, how can we manifest abundance? What is the abundance, right? Can we get put a face to the abundance that we are experiencing? That's the question that we're asking. Because this is not a money reading. There will be a money and career reading. It is everyone's favorite reading in the whole wide world because everybody, wants some of that. And then next is love and relationships. And I don't do those all the time, even though I will try to make it a habit to incorporate those. Just not today, not now. In this reading, we're asking for abundance for nonfiction writers. What is the abundance for nonfiction writers right now for this week? What is the abundance? I am seeing someone's about to give... Wow. Someone watching this video is going to be giving birth in the next 7 days. And that might be some of your abundance. Congratulations. If that's true for you, please let me know. But I just got an image of a baby. It can be that sometimes it's the bounty of a new project that's coming forth, right? Like birthing something into the world is also like a part of that. But I definitely feel like it's a child. So good luck and congratulations to you if that is you. Sanctity. It says, through offering, even the most mundane problem can become a sacrament. Oh, I love it. We also got our little red crosses here. In the image is a person who is sitting, I think this is called the lotus position, but don't quote me on that. And they've got their hands in their lap and they got this meditative look on their face. On their arms are crosses. And they've got all these wonderful beads on. And I know there are lots of other names for these things here. It does look like there are people looking at them from above, almost heaven-like. But this brings us back to the judgment card yet again. And this very much feels as though part of it is the process. Like the point of the journey is not the destination, but the journey itself. That's what it feels like. Right? Part of what will bring you closer to your abundance is this part that's the struggle, is you learning how to accept yourself becomes part of the narrative that you will tell at a later date. And that's what will put you over into the joy and into the other abundances that are available to you. Right. Best example I can give is myself, and it's always going to be myself because I live this life. So I have all these examples I want to give you. But Me being arrested for $25 and spending 40 days in a county jail in Texas somehow turned into a whole entire creative project and then into multiple projects. And now it's a part of the narrative that I tell that my creativity was deeply impacted by this event that seemed to have no connection at all to my creativity. I was too poor for food, and that wasn't a struggling artist thing. That was a struggling college thing. But because of what happened, I didn't feel confident in myself as a whole person, which, prevented me from writing and from pursuing my creativity because I needed to get a real job and a job that was going to be secure. And that's actually not what I wanted. I wanted to be creative, but now like this thing put the fear of God in me. And when I say God, I mean GAWD, not GOD. But like it took something from me. And once I finally stopped letting it take something from me, once I was willing to go, you know what? Yeah, I had that circumstance happen and things that I'm not happy about and things that, frankly, I felt ashamed for a long time that I had been that broke, that I had been that poor, that it had led to me being behind bars. But it turns out that particular story was exactly the story I needed to reframe. That was the story that I needed to learn from in order for me to create all these other things. And now my emphasis and focus on joy is very much related to all the pain that I had, right? And so that's what it feels like. It says through offering, even the most mundane problem can become a sacrament by offering up your time, by offering up your comfort, by offering up anything that feels familiar for the potential of something that is a little unfamiliar, right? That can bring you to a place of great joy. And it looks like they want to bring you to that. They want to give you these things, but you've got to show gratitude for them when you receive them, no matter how big or small. This is going to be our last card. It is, we are hitting the hour mark. So this is our last card for sure. For nonfiction writers, please. This is from the African Goddess Rising deck. I'm looking for an affirmation for you to take with you into the next 7 days. Let's get this affirmation going. Affirmation, please, for nonfiction writers. I love it. I love it. I love it. As I was just saying, my focus on joy. We have Asaseya, and I know I'm not saying all these names right, but I will learn. Asaseya, and it says joy beneath their name. And this person is sitting in their lap. They are sitting again in the lotus position, very much like our sanctity person here. And they've got a child to their breast and they are feeding them. And they've got beautiful moons going through all the cycles around their head. And they have plant and bush and tree coming out of their hair and plant and bush coming out of the child's hair. So 2 afros made out of beautiful greenery. But they are also sitting in the middle of the cosmos, surrounded by planets and stars and all of dark matter and dark energy. And below them is Earth. You can see that Earth is holding them. And so when I pull up look at this card, and the number associated with it is 16, and it is in the solar plexus. So if you are a chakra person, and I know I'm not even saying chakra right, I think it's chakra, I'm going to learn it. Chakra. For now, that's what we're going to work with. It's the solar plexus, and this is about confidence. Goddess Asaseya rules life and death as the joyful crone celebrated as Mama Earth. Her energy is loving, fertile, and nurturing, and her name is invoked at major life transitions. Your happiness matters. Joy is sacred. Your laughter waters the earth. You deserve to be happy. It is safe for you to feel good. Allow yourself to feel joy with no limits. This is self-love. Your happiness doesn't need to look like anyone else's. If you can't imagine it, you won't be able to live it. Giggle therapy break. Close your eyes and see yourself joy-filled. Now laugh with your mouth and your eyes wide open. Try to release feel-good endorphins. And the affirmation, I feel like me when I'm happy. So again, this takes us literally back to our judgment card, right? Which is about life and death, about understanding the beginning and the end. We are reminded that we had our sun card, which also has a young child in it and has the beginning of a celebration that is coming into that. And really the integration of that, right? And integration is the underlying of all of this, is take the pain and integrate it for sure. Yes. Understand that there is an older version of you that you are now releasing so that you can step into this new you. And this new you needs to be able to accept joy and to accept the wind and allow this to start changing you, right? Change is the only thing that's inevitable in the universe. That's the only, we know if all else fails, things will change, right? Because that's literally the only constant. At no point is anything certain or done or spoken for. And so I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that you got a lot out of this, and stay tuned for your publication opportunities. Thank you.